Starfield has been out for unofficially a week, but officially a few days, and I thought it would be a good opportunity to talk about the general reception of the game and my own thoughts and impressions. So last Friday, when all the embargoes had been lifted, Starfield was absolutely flooding the general news media through TikTok and YouTube, and there was plenty of people that have obviously had early access to the game and had probably put in a fair amount of time, if I'm being honest. Definitely the videos were already ready to go, and by the late on the Friday, all TikTok was just constant Starfield, have you done this, make sure you do this, and the game had, well, unofficially released for those who had paid £35 more. I actually got that wrong in my last video. I thought it was £30, but it was £35. They had just absolutely gone ham on making content and showing us straight away, like, these are the best classes to pick, and it was just like, guys, it's just come out, like, let us make a character at first. So from that, however, I did have a look through in the morning, and the initial releases, when all the embargoes were fine, were overall the game was quite good, and most of the feedback was pretty positive. There was only a couple of, at the time this was early morning on the Friday, the mostly negative opinions were the classic kind of, as much as it's good, it does fall into that classic RPG tropes that you kind of hope that Bethesda would have moved away from by now. But, you know, it's one of them. Sometimes the reason they are tropes is because they do work and, you know, people like them. So I think people were kind of talking about, you know, that kind of classic thing with, like, you know, chatting and discussions. And sometimes, you know, that's not always a problem, but, you know, it can have its disadvantages. The traits didn't seem to be traits, rather than, here you go, have this. This is something you know, you can just have straight off the bat. And I think the best example of this is the adoring fan. Now, obviously, that's a, you know, really fun little thing. Well, I say little thing that happens within Oblivion, and, you know, it's cool to bring that back, you know. But the only thing I was thinking is, surely you should earn that. Like, why would he be the adoring fan? Like, the RPG, like, start and background of this game, I thought has been quite interesting, because you can start off in like that. It's like, well, what have I done before? So it kind of, when I was doing my character, which I will get to, I sort of took that moment to really flesh out, like, what my character's backstory was. So it was just a bit of a weird one, that, I thought. The character creation, now this was an interesting one I saw, but it was quite binary. Now I know people get a bit funny about that stuff, even though there's absolutely no reason to, but I did feel that even though you can include your pronouns, which is good, there wasn't many options to kind of show that, you know, maybe your character's, you know, non-binary. I'll probably leave that there because I'm not the best at talking anyway, but I'm all for that, really. And when you look at, again, like Cyberpunk, to the kind of detail you can go to in that to create a character that represents you, or is you know, the view of you that you have in your head that you want to display on screen, then I think, you know, well, it's only fair enough to, you know, show that and be able to play that character. The exploration and traversal at the time, now this is something that I think a lot of people jumped on straight away. This was the one that everyone was sharing and trying to, you know, kind of slate the game really early on. That, oh, you know, you can't go to this planet, you can't travel, you can't do all this. You know, it's all just animated loading screens. And it was a bit like, at the time, there was a part of me that was like, oh, actually, that's kind of a bit of a shame. I did want to actually fly the ship. And that's not true. I should point that out quite early on. It isn't like that. It just takes a very, very long time to get from A to B. So the fast travel is definitely needed. But at the time, I think it was slightly, it was a fair point, because it did make me wonder, like, well, actually, what's going on? And then to round up, I think the main bugs at the time were, you know, classic kind of Bethesda-based bugs, you know, like the glitching through walls and stuff like this. Some characters were just randomly floating in the air, and NPCs were falling through the floor. So there was, like, genuinely an issue that, like, if that was a quest giver, you might possibly lose that quest now. And then the last one, which is still kind of true, was and it was quite funny actually, Starfield. because I've been playing it recently, and it is very true. For some reason, the NPCs do have this very alarming sort of stare that they just can't take their eyes off you, and just across the background when you're talking to someone with dialogue, all they do is just look at you the whole way, and it is a little bit creepy, I won't lie. I saw someone relate it to the Planet of the Apes cover, where I don't actually remember which Apes film is now, but I think it might be the fourth one, the original ones I should say, where it's that real stare down that they have. And yeah, so that was that's still quite in effect. It's very reminiscent actually of Mass Effect and Andromeda, because they had a really bad issue with that as well, where the characters were just constantly eyeballing you, and it is a little bit unsettling. I've actually got to the point where I've been reading the subtitles rather than looking at the character. But that, to be honest, was the initial kind of response from, this was right early on the morning, quite early in the morning I should say as well, and it was mostly positive. Now I'm going to go into my impressions now. I don't think I've got really anything spoilery to say, so I've tried to keep that a little bit vague in the beginning there. But for me, starting up, so I got it on Wednesday, was able to download it really well. Started up, did have the very, how can we say, unfriendly advert when I loaded up my Xbox though. Apparently a few people had that in-game, playing other games, which I think was a bit rude. You can't, hopefully that's not going to become a thing now, loading up your Xbox and immediately you've got an advert, because, well, we're really going down the wrong path then. But starting up, the first thing I wanted to go through actually was my character. So I decided to go with an industrialist background. And the thought behind this was, I kind of wasn't sure. The biggest thing for me playing Starfield was the combat, and I didn't know what combat route I wanted to take. I didn't know if I wanted to be melee. I didn't know if I wanted to just be like guns and rifles, or just go up shotguns, pistol, or try out laser weapons. Now we'll get to that in a bit, but I thought, well, I don't know if I want to start off with a perk in those things yet, because really I kind of want to feel that for myself. Are the pistols good? Are the shotguns good? Are the laser weapons good? Am I just going to prefer to go in, fists blazing? And I wanted to really play around with that at the beginning, and kind of then from that say, right, okay, I want to focus on this, and that's going to get my skill points. So I think for the industrialist route, you get the lockpicking skill, you do get persuasion, and the surveying / researching. No, so it's a researching one, isn't it? Yeah, so you got researching. My idea being is, one of the big things I am looking forward to doing in this game is building outposts, because Fallout 4, all credits where it's due, I really did like building settlements and really kind of fleshing them out. The only problem with settlements, and this will be something that in the future when I get to that point in Starfield, I'm really going to judge it on. If I build an outpost, does anything happen? Like, am I going to be raided by pirates? Am I going to get back and the whole place is damaged, like set fire to? Is that going to happen? Because if it does, that'd be fantastic. It'd be really annoying, but it will be awesome, because that was the only problem with Fallout 4. You didn't really have to do anything with the defences. You could just leave it, and that was fine. Like, people would be fine. You'd get the same bases that would, oh, we've got raider trouble again. It's like, oh yeah, again. So that's definitely something I want to do, and I'm looking forward to that. So that's why I went down the researching path, so that hopefully when I'm learning to build new fabrication stations and surveying towers, etc., that should be quite good, and I'll hopefully have a bit of an advantage. The persuasion was kind of this is where I kind of delved into the background of my character now, and I decided to go down, I have this sort of idea that my character, I actually should go into my traits first, because the trait I picked to go alongside this was the Neon Street Rat. And the reason I picked that is because I like the idea of my family, because I did pick the kids one as well, where you have parents, because I thought that was just quite fun and cute to do. So I thought, why not? You don't usually have parents in a lot of these games, so why not? And part of what I thought at first was, my family, we started off quite poor. We worked out really hard to get out there. Even though the parent story, when you find that out, doesn't really help, because they are quite successful, but oh well. Starting off on the streets, build your way up. Like, the persuasion, being able to get your way out of situations, that makes sense. But also the kind of lock picking, the digipick skill, like that. Yeah, if I'm struggling, like maybe I had to break in every now and then. But the whole point of the industrialist is that you were kind of in that kind of corpo lifestyle. So part of me was like, well, actually, in that case, then I kind of want to be able to say, well, I did get to the top, but then why am I now in a mining facility in the middle of nowhere? Well, that's where I picked another trait, which was the wanted trait. Now, obviously, the whole idea of the wanted trait is that every now and then, bounty hunters come and try and attack you. Now, that could probably be annoying. However, my thought behind this is that when you were in the corpo lifestyle, you'd worked your way up, you've bought your parents this really nice apartment, you're giving them money every week, oh, how nice, good son, whatever. I did pick a male character, I should say as well. The reason I'm not there now, though, is because in that executive job, and I've just realised another thing actually, which is I'll come back to, that there was a guy there, or a girl, or someone, who kind of got me out of that job and got me away. Like maybe I discovered something from my, like researching background that made me realise, oh wait, we're doing something here. This isn't right. We should talk about this. But the other person wasn't really happy with that and decided to out me out, get me out of the company. So, I was out without a job. And then the next thing that happens is I end up, that person still holds a grudge against me. So I end up having to essentially just run away, try and find a new start, end up on the Argos mining facility. And the next thing I know, I've got people coming after me because that same person at this company I used to work for has set a target on my back. And I kind of just liked that. I just like that kind of, that for me, like really made me be like, right, yeah, I'm with this character now, let's go. And I think that's one of the reasons that I still love Fallout 3's intro, starting as a kid and growing up and being able to kind of really start from day one. Whereas with Starfield, you really, you do, all is that you're just starting on a job, So I feel like, for me with RPG games, this is what I do really like, to set up a background and a proper story. But yeah, so interesting. Industrialist, Neo, street rat, with a wanted on my back with parents. So yeah, it's quite good. But the thing I did just realise is that, and this is actually a spoiler, so please just like skip ahead a little bit, like spoiler to some degree. It's not massive, it's literally just part of the trait of having parents. One, you can actually get rid of it if you get low on money for some reason. There is a dialogue with your dad where you can say, sorry, I can't do it no more. And I haven't tried it because I don't want to get rid of it, but you can get rid of it. I'm not sure if you'll be able to add another trait back on there. I feel like that's not usually the case, so we'll have to see about that one. There's a conversation you have with your mom where she'll tell you that an old high school friend is now a junior VP, I think she said junior VP, at the Gal Bank, which is the one that if you get the house that you can buy, that's who you have to pay your mortgage to. And I was kind of tempted to get the house. I mean, I suppose it would have made sense with the industrialist background as well, to be like, well, I made my, riches, I got this house, but now it's like, oh no, I've signed the papers, I've got to pay the rent. But I kind of want to do that. I feel like that's what the base building will be, building those dens and building, your outposts, like that's what that would be. So why would I always want to come back to wherever the house is? It was one of those things that I was like, actually, you know what, that's not the best. I don't know if I really want to do that. So that was my character. But then going into like my first major impressions, then, you know what? It's good. It is good. I have really enjoyed it. And like I said before, the space travel, it does work. It just, like, I jumped to Jemison and I looked on the map and it was like, oh, there's New Atlantis. There you go. And I did actually watch it go from like, I think it was like 7,000 kilometers to 6,999 kilometers. And I was like, so I am moving. And if I left this just going, I could do it. And I know there was a streamer who did actually show this, which I'm like, fair play. It took her apparently a very long time. But yeah, I was like, you know what, that's awesome. And I suppose that does prove the point that you can travel to them. But, I can definitely envision some people making very, very, very fast spaceships in the future and just being like, right, this is how you get from one place to another really quick. So, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. And like I said, the main thing for me was combat. And the combat's been okay. I definitely think so far my main interest, and I think I might develop this. I still want to put a bit more time into combat first before I pick. But at the moment, I'm really liking laser weapons. They are really like my one at the moment. Like the laser weapons just feel really cool. And I think in Fallout games in the past, I think only Fallout 3 did I use laser weapons a lot. Fallout New Vegas was always the hunting rifle. You just always had the hunting rifle with the scope, and you just got people from miles away. That was always the best way to go with Fallout New Vegas. And then Fallout 4, again, I think with Fallout 4, stealth was just so good. And you could build such a good stealth ninja that you could just whack people from miles away and just one-shot them. So it was like, well, why would you do anything else? So I think at the moment, it's definitely laser weapons that I'm tempted. But I have also had some like scraps up close as well. So I'm like, well, actually, maybe I'll be like a laser pistol, but punching. I don't know. I'm still, that's definitely the one I'm working on the most. But then I'm thinking now, going into like the other elements that I've played, I really like the new lock picking skill system. I think that's really cool. And I also like that you've got to be careful as well, because if you get that wrong, you are going to struggle quite a bit. And I've seen a streamer that I watch quite a lot. He actually didn't realize at the time that he was actually losing the digipicks every time because he was accidentally getting them wrong. So I do like that you've got to really line them all up and do it like that. So that's definitely something that I have actually been quite enjoying. But again, you know, the environment so far, they're so full of stuff. It's really cool. Like I spent so long on the very first mission when you go after the Crimson Pirates. Literally, this is the first mission, so you know it's nothing that I don't think anyone shouldn't know. I just spent so long at that laboratory just looking around, finding what the stuff was. I think I picked it dry, to be honest. I actually haven't been over encumbered yet. Sorry, I haven't not been over encumbered. I'm constantly picking up stuff. I really need to stop, actually. It's becoming a bit of a problem. But yeah, I've sort of developed a little bit of the main story now. I'll try and keep this a little hush-hush, but that's going well. I'm enjoying that. I'm enjoying the dialogue that's happening between my character and the other people. Like, I feel like it does feel... It's still quite linear, you know, like you can be like really nice and friendly, or you can just be completely, you know, not friendly. And then there's always like the mid option that, oh, well, maybe I'll do it, but I don't know. I'll see. Maybe. I don't know. And it's just like, well, all right then, fair enough. So there's definitely a bit of an improvement there with the classic kind of yes, no, and maybe options. But so far, I have enjoyed. They've been quite, like, I feel like they have been good conversation. It hasn't felt just like, here's a quest, go. So that's been good. But again, this is starting off, so, you know, that could change. But apart from that, that actually might sort of sum everything up so far. Like, I have been really enjoying it. It's been playing really well on my Xbox Series X. I haven't really put that much time into it though, but although, you know, no, I have, to be honest. I have played quite a few hours, but I haven't played like extensively like the people who had the, you know, early releases and stuff like that. But, you know, so far I am enjoying it. It feels nice. It feels like a good Bethesda game. There are obviously elements that you are like, oh, really, you know? But I definitely think with the problems that there are so right now, the good does outweigh the bad. And I think because of that, if you are a Bethesda fan, you are going to enjoy this. Do I think you should have paid for early access? Absolutely not. I think you should have got it on Wednesday. I think actually paying £100 for this game was definitely a rip-off. Like, I'm not going to be changing on that one. Just, you know, I actually don't really like that Bethesda did this as well with the early access, but I appreciate that's just the way it is now, isn't it, with games. So, yeah, I'm very happy with it. I'm enjoying it. I'm going to play some right now, to be honest. So, with that, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Again, it's another just press record and just talk, so I appreciate, you know, sometimes I do lose track, but, you know, I am trying to do a bit more, and hopefully, you know, you've got Starfield, and if you have, I'd love to hear it, hear what you've been thinking about it. Have you been liking it? Have you not? Have you kind of just not bothered again? Are you sort of sat on the fence? Will you pick it up maybe in a year or so when it's half price and you can mod the hell out of it? It's not a bad idea. There's plenty of other games coming out at the moment. So if you are currently in the midway through one, why not? But with that, I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.